Welcome to Philly Fortune Talks with your host, Jake Penny, where the city's brightest minds share the secrets behind their success. Are you ready to be inspired?
Ever wonder what it takes to lead with heart while building a successful real estate career or any career in general? Today, we dive into the story of Skye Michiels, a motivational speaker, coach, and real estate leader who's transformed thousands of lives by blending passion, positivity, and purpose. From Division I athlete to national real estate coach, Skye's journey is all about empowering others to thrive both personally and professionally. Join us as we explore his powerful insights on leadership, team building, and living life with heart. Skye, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
I am so excited to be on this show, and I can't wait to have this conversation with you.
So, Skye, take us, from humble beginnings as a high school history teacher to a performance coach, a real estate coach, and where you are today.
Yeah, well, I'll take you a little bit earlier. My entrepreneurial background really began at the age of 12. My family, we grew up poor. I had a single mom, two sisters, and all of us, we always just had these jobs. So my first job was actually as a paper boy at the age of 12. And back then, as a paper boy, you had to manage the books, who paid you, collect the money, give the money, deliver the papers, et cetera. So I often joke around that I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 12. But growing up poor, one of the things that you crave is stability. So when I went to college and I was on the crew team at Syracuse, Division I athlete, I always craved that stability of like, oh my God, I don't want to have to live paycheck to paycheck. So being a teacher was also a passion of mine. So I graduated from Syracuse, became a high school history teacher at Haverford High School over there in Delco. Life was good, but I very quickly turned around. I'm like, wow, I'm still poor. Any teacher out there, anyone that knows teaching, you start out, eventually it gets good, but it takes a long time to build that income. So in 2002, about a year and a half after starting, I was looking for a little side gig, right? Every teacher has a side gig, painting houses, babies, whatever it might be. You always have a side gig. So I fell into real estate thinking I would sell, 3 to 4 homes a year, make a little extra money, pay off some debt, take a vacation, et cetera. That'd be my side gig. But the competitive side and that entrepreneurial person in me that I knew at the age of 12, that spark was sort of lit, and I can't lie, like the leaderboard in the office, was up. And I sort of took to real estate like a fish in water. And I think the skills I use as a teacher around, being empathetic, listening, asking the right questions, guiding people, making people feel cared for. I took that, I transferred that into real estate and applied my competitive edge, and it started to just take off. So I was working 2 full-time jobs in essence for 3 years until I finally was like, this is crazy. Like I had to give up one. I knew I was at a point where I had to give up real estate or I had to give up teaching. And in 2005, I made the decision to give up teaching and go full-time real estate. So it was a hard decision because, I had a master's degree. I've been working all this time to become, stable, pension, healthcare, retirement, all the stuff that you're told to get growing up. That's happiness. I had it, but I wasn't happy because I always had this burning fire to do more. And then, so I gave up my teaching career and I went into real estate. And I just sort of took off from there. So to make a long story short, over the years, I was at several different brokerages, but I was everything in real estate from starting out as a part-time agent to a full-time individual agent. I ran a small team. I ran a very large team. I helped open up a really, really successful brokerage in the city of Philadelphia with a partnership group. And then in 2018, it's fast forwarding, I was a little bit burnt out, I would say. I was also going through a little bit of a personal transition where I was getting divorced and it was amicable, but I needed stability again in my schedule to be a full-time dad, right? So I at the time, Compass Real Estate was launching in the city of Philadelphia, and I was getting recruited to run that new brokerage. So I made the decision to leave Keller Williams at the time, and that I moved into Compass. I took over as a managing director in 2018, started to grow the region in Philadelphia, but also helped out a lot nationally. And then when COVID hit, if you guys remember COVID, I started a motivational group inside of Compass called the 6 a.m.ers.
Mm.
And it was basically, we were all shut down, and I was so frustrated with myself, right? I was drinking, happy hours at 4 o'clock, binge watching TV, not working out because the gyms were closed. I was just so frustrated at the fact that I was so out of control, and I knew I couldn't control what was happening outside my door. So I had to control what was happening inside my door. In addition, I was lonely, it was a lonely time for a lot of us. So I really wanted to connect with people. So I started this group, the 6 a.m.ers. And in essence, it was this morning motivational group where twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday, we'd wake up at 6 a.m., hop on a Zoom call. I typically did like an interview, sort of like a live podcast. We created this beautiful community. And to make a long story short, over 4-year period, it grew. It was about 5,000 people that became part of it. And then 2 years ago, I was the managing director in Philadelphia, and I was running all kinds of national real estate training program inside of Compass. And luckily, they made me the head of coaching for the entire country. So that was great. I loved doing it. I was traveling all around the country, speaking to amazing people, these beautiful cities, beautiful offices. But man, again, I was sort of craving going back to being an entrepreneur. And I knew I wanted to combine my two loves, which is teaching and real estate.
Mm.
And so this past year in April, I left Compass at the end of February. I formed my coaching company called With Heart Coaching in April. And here I am talking to you on a beautiful Saturday morning.
So take us back a little bit to the transition from teacher to real estate agent at the time. What
Mhm.
inspired you to make that shift? Like, what did you see out there? And you kind of spoke about it a little bit, but how have your teaching skills translated into your real estate and coaching career?
Yeah. So that transition was so incredibly hard because of the fact that I think it's a classic battle between your head and your heart, right?
Mhm.
My head, the logical side is like, wait, I went to school. I have a master's degree. Undergrad, I stayed, got my master's degree. I have everything that I thought would create happiness: steady paycheck, healthcare, pension. I'm on that. I had tenure at my school. It's a beautiful high school. And that so your head is like, how am I going to leave this really, really stable thing to go sell houses?
Mm.
I got my real estate license in 4 weekends.
Damn.
How
Damn,
am I going
I never even passed my license. That shit was hard.
But it was like one of these crazy things in your head. How on earth do I make this transition? But in my heart, I knew in my heart that my journey was bigger than just being a high school history teacher. And so that transition, the linchpin, the push, I'll say, was there was a month it was probably the spring market of 2004 where I made my salary
Okay.
in a month. I just crushed it. And this is I was a part-time agent. I had a full-time job, and I made my salary. It was a great month. I had some big deals that settled, et cetera. And I'm sitting there saying, like, what on earth am I doing? Like, killing myself, basically working two full-time jobs, for what? So I made the decision back then, but I also am a very loyal team person, maybe to a fault. And so I didn't leave right away. I stayed because I had a group of kids that I had been with since they were freshmen, and they were going to be seniors, and I didn't want to leave them. In addition, I had a great teaching partner as well. And I really struggled with the decision to leave both of those groups of people. So I stayed another year, finished it out, and I left in the spring of 2005, after that, June of 2005, when the school year wrapped up. And it was like I said, it was this battle of the head and the heart. And I think as entrepreneurs, we always go through this battle, right? I think if you're listening to this and I ask that question, like, think of something you're battling right now, like where your logic is telling you one thing and your heart's telling you another. And there's never a right or wrong. Sometimes logic should hold more weight. And sometimes heart should hold more weight. And I think a lot of it, Jake, went back into fear. It was scary to leave stability.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes when we're facing that decision that is extremely scary, it it really is that gut check moment where you have to say, who am I as a person? The other thing you have to say is, what's the worst case? A lot of people don't make scary decisions because of the fact that they spin a story of negativity, and they spin a story of, oh my God, what could happen on the negative side? But the challenge you have to play out is, what could happen on the positive side, right? And once you start playing these stories and you shift your energy away from that negative, mindset, which is our default as human
Right.
beings, and you start spinning the story of, oh my God, what could happen if I make this decision? What's on the other side? And what's the worst case? Worst case, it fails, and I go back to teaching. I didn't lose my degree. I didn't lose where I'd gotten to. So the worst case was I just go right back to where I started and pick up from there. So for people listening that are facing a decision around that is scary, ask yourself the question, what's the worst case, right? And in addition, what's the positive story I can spin around this decision? And if you take those two factors, the worst case satisfies your logic, that spinning the positive story satisfies your heart. This will almost always lead you down the road into the right direction, the right decision you're going to make. So
Yeah. Yeah. So like in your work with heart coaching,
yeah,
what like key strategies have been essential in helping, whether it's real estate professionals or just professionals in general, achieve their success and maintain what a lot of people like to say is balance. I like to say integration in
yep.
their personal lives.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you three concepts to latch on to. Concept one, and this may sound ironic when I say it out loud, so let me play it out. Concept one is be selfish, but be selfish about your health. So I call this being healthy selfish. So
Mm,
it's a concept that a lot of people, entrepreneurs especially, are so obsessed with helping everyone else, they never help themselves.
mm,
And what we want to do as human beings is we want to think about, how do I if I'm on a plane, the plane's going down, the first thing I need to do is take care of myself so I can take care of people at a high level. But our default and what we're told in society is, take care of other people first and make them happy, and then you'll be happy. And that's flawed logic, right? That's only a pathway that's going to lead you to exhaustion and frustration and all these things. So the first concept I want people to hear, and Jake, this is for you too, is be healthy selfish, right? How can I be selfish around my health? And when I say the word health, I'm not just talking about your body, I'm talking about your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. So you figure out those three things, and every day challenge yourself, what am I going to do for my physical health, my mental health, and my spiritual health today? And by the way, it does not need to be an hour CrossFit workout. It legitimately could be doing as many push-ups as you can until exhaustion, and boom, check the box, right? Some days when you're grinding, you can't do much for your physical, mental, spiritual health. But if you do a little bit and you maintain that consistency, you'll be successful. So that's concept number one, be healthy, selfish. And if you're not right now taking care of your health, and once again, not just physical, it's mental and spiritual as well, you really need to stop what you're doing and identify how you can take care of that. Because without those three things, it doesn't matter what you build, what you make, what you do, it all is meaningless if we don't take care of ourselves. The second concept I come back to is energy is everything.
mm,
So energy is everything. If you are in a negative mindset and state of mind, you can't create to your full potential. And everything you do gets really, really challenging. Now, a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, and probably you as well, Jake, we can actually create by what I call bulldozing forward. So we can be in a negative mindset, but we can grind and we'll create. Do you know what I mean? But it's like a bulldozer pushing dirt forward. It's really, really tough, right? And when we adopt this understanding that energy is everything, and when we adopt the understanding that if we apply positive energy and positive movement into everything we do, we can create at a level that we can't even imagine where it can go. And we can create effortlessly. And this is a concept, again, we all carry these little, I'm holding my cell phone up if you're listening to this. We carry these cell phones around with us, right? And what we have to realize, we are carrying a device that has trillions of dollars that have been spent to make us unhappy.
Mm.
And the goal of these cell phone companies and these, social media companies is actually to create anxiety, depression, and unhappiness, because when you are anxious, depressed, and unhappy, you buy stuff.
Yep.
So a challenge I have for you, Jake, and for everyone listening is for 1 week, go into your cell phone and just all you got to do for a week is turn off your notifications on your email, your text, and your social media. There's no reason we need to be reminded at all times of negativity, because the only thing really coming through there, for the most part, most of it's negative. So for 1 week, just turn off notifications on those three things and watch what happens. And what it allows you to do is adopt this mindset of energy is everything. And when you got to understand our natural state is actually to operate in a negative energetic state because of the fact that's how we stay alive. Right? If you're in the woods and you're walking down a trail and you hear a noise, your brain is naturally designed to create negativity.
Yep.
To keep you alive, right? It wouldn't be very good 100,000 years ago if everyone was like, "Oh, I wonder if that's a rabbit on the trail. Let me get it." Right? Those genes are pretty much dying.
Bear.
But the reality in our today's world, there are no bears down the trail, right?
Yeah.
But our brain still reacts in that way. So we need to every single day wake up and understand, how can I apply energy, positive energy, into everything that I'm doing? And if you right now are sitting there and you're obsessed with politics, or if you're obsessed with watching, reality TV show, or if you're obsessed with anything that makes you feel negative, you really need to check yourself, and you have to adopt this mindset. Energy is everything, right? And I think that's for entrepreneurs listening to this. You have to go back into, how can I start to shift everything I do and understand that a lot of what I create is not created by my hands. It's actually created through my mind. The third concept I come back to is that the power we all have in this world really goes back to our relationships. And it's a age-old classic thing, right? Relationships matter. Who you know matters. Who
Yep.
you're around matters. And for a lot of us listening, it might be a challenging thing to start to judge and evaluate the people that are surrounding you, but you have to question yourself, who am I surrounding myself with, and what am I bringing to them, and what are they bringing to me? So that's the third concept that I would recommend that people latch onto, that I sort of coach to. Relationships are everything. And for most people in real estate or any industry, really, everything we do is predicated on relationships, yet most of us don't maintain a CRM or any kind of way of making sure we are constantly aware of who the most important relationships are in our life. So those are the three concepts: healthy, selfish, energy is everything, relationships matter. And if you start to every day focus on those three things, you'll start to see shifts happen in your life, and sometimes they happen very effortlessly as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I was on a talk with a group of guys the other day, and the question was like, what was the one thing, randomly that you could give the listeners that would, potentially benefit them?
Yeah.
And I just said, be selfish. Like most people are, um, you hear that word and it's like a negative word. Oh, you're
Yeah.
selfish, you're ignorant, da 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 da. It was like if you look around the world at everybody's morning, the first thing they do is wake up and serve everyone else,
Mm,
never even taking time to for themselves. And that's why so many people are miserable all the time and lose their health, lose their mindset, lose their spirituality, lose their relationships. Because the second they hit that snooze button, or they're waking up late from work, they're rushing to grab their coffee. And it's just a bunch of negative things happening throughout the day. They're going to work, they're serving someone else. They're helping other people that need to be helped. They never even help themselves. They're coming home, they're eating bad food because
yeah,
they're in a rush, right? They're serving the big food companies, not serving themselves. And I was like, you have to start every single day serving yourself.
dude.
Wake up an hour early, do a morning routine, get your mindset right, go for a walk,
Yep.
um, call a loved one, tell them something you're grateful about, why you're grateful for them. Serve yourself to make yourself build yourself up, build that spiritual energy up, so that way you can then truly go out and serve other people in the best capability that you can. Because with if you're not serving yourself, you don't really have much to give, truthfully.
Right. That's right.
Uh,
That's right.
and
Yep.
that's like the biggest thing is it's like you
Yeah.
need to be, like you said, healthily selfish um to yourself first and then serve others.
Yeah. Totally, man. And I think you come back to the word selfish, redefine the word selfish as self-love. The other thing I'll say too is is another concept is be the light, don't give the light. Right? We wake up and we're giving the light, so to speak, to everyone. And we want to think about how do I wake up and I'm going to give the light back to myself. So, and again, go back to Jake to like the cell phone example as well. 99% of all people wake up. The first thing they do is pick up their cell phone.
Mm,
Most of them in bed, right?
yeah.
First thing you do. So if there's another thing you could do to increase your presence, your health, your wellness, your spirituality, whatever it might be, is just plug your cell phone in across the room. That's it. And challenge yourself when you wake up. If you use your cell phone as an alarm, just hit the off button, get up and just be by yourself. Don't let that other people in that phone come at you first thing in the morning. Go work out, go meditate, go read, go pray, go do whatever it is that, gives you fuel, and then go into the fray that is the world, then go to battle. Like, don't
Yeah.
wake up and start battling from the second you wake up with the world.
Yeah.
And
Wake up in a proactive state, not a reactive state.
that's it. Fill your cup first. It'll get drained all throughout the day. But if you don't fill up the cup, it's already drained. You're going to get
Right.
really, right? And that's what's really critical, I think, for especially entrepreneurs.
You
You
know,
know, we wake up, we're unemployed every single day. Every day I wake up, I don't have a job. I got to go get that job. Right. And that's one of those situations when you're running businesses that can create a lot of negativity, pressure, depression, anxiety, et cetera. And the more we tell ourselves and calm ourselves down, be present with ourselves, be selfish, healthy, selfish, the more we're going to create in the world.
so as someone that, who focuses on leading with kindness, how do you like cultivate leadership, a leadership style that prioritizes like empathy while maintaining business success?
Awesome. The first thing to understand is that the two are most likely connected, right? Um, the vast majority of successful people are the people that actually are connectors, collaborators, and uplifters with other people. We know our industries are very small, right? If you're in this industry and you start developing a bad name for yourself, a bad reputation, someone
Mm,
who's not taking care of people, that spreads pretty quickly. Instead,
sure
you are
does.
someone who is collaborative, who helps others, who is insightful, etc. That spreads pretty quickly as well. And I think the thing you come back to is that we create at a much higher level with others than we do alone. And I think, once again, being an entrepreneur, Sometimes our default setting is to do this on our own, but we have to recognize that doing it with others is huge. And when you lead with kindness and empathy versus anger and stress, all of a sudden other people will do things for you that you have you can't even imagine what people will do for you when you make them feel like they matter.
Oh, for sure. It's people remember how you made them feel.
That's it.
Oh,
Not what you did for them.
yeah.
So, and that's it, man. It's about making people feel like they matter. And that I think is this leadership style. And it is a fine line. You got to be really, really careful of not being a people pleaser
Yeah.
while leading with empathy and kindness. And I think that's why some of these concepts I talked about, being healthy selfish, goes back to this, right? So you can be healthy selfish and make sure you're taking care of yourself first and then go into the world and try to help others. But the key to happiness is becoming unconditional around what other people do. If your happiness is tied to other people, that's called codependency. But if you are only happy if someone does XYZ, you're forever going to be chasing this concept of happiness.
Right.
And this idea of being, I call it being unconditional. And take this into the real world. If you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off in traffic, if you get angry at that, you are creating conditional happiness. Instead, the idea of being unconditional is that person is not going to impact me. And I'm going to spin a positive story. Maybe he's having his first baby and he needs to get to the hospital, or she needs to get to the hospital, right? I'm going to spin a positive story into
Hmm.
this, and I'm not going to ruin my day because of the actions of someone else. So I try to operate in a state where I call it being unconditional. And when you can start to be unconditionally happy, you get really, really powerful because of the fact that things around the world that try to pull at us, make us unhappy, make us miserable, all of a sudden you just sort of float above those things.
Hmm.
And I'll ask you this question, but if you're listening, I want you to ask yourself this question. What are the things in my life that are causing me to be unhappy? And are they conditions that I'm attaching my happiness to? Because if you attach your happiness to conditions, you're always going to be chasing it. You're never going to feel fulfilled. So Jake, let me throw this at you. What's going on in your life right now that you are attaching your happiness to that's conditional, that you can maybe let go of?
Huh. Man, that's before we got on the call, we talked about like hitting mile markers,
Yeah.
those goals. Um, of finally obtaining those goals, realizing it, and losing that fulfillment because the next goal is in front of you.
Yeah.
Right? So that's, one condition.
Yeah. That's a condition. You're conditionally happy on outcomes. And instead, you need to be happy. You need to be unconditional and sort of let go of the worry about the outcomes. And the way you do this, Jake, is by obsessing about the process. What is the everyday process that you need to follow? So you want to envision the outcomes. You attach zero emotional energy into achieving them, right? And instead, all that emotional energy you were directing at achieving the outcome, you redirect into the process.
Hmm.
What are you going to do today to achieve this outcome? You want to have 1,000 doors in X years, X amount of years, right? Well, if that's your happiness is only if I do that, I'll be happy. You know what? You're
Yeah,
going to do that. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, if I get 2,000 doors, I'll be happy. And all of a sudden, this whole world, all people are doing is chasing this idea of happiness when the reality is, Jake, everything you need to be happy is present inside of you right now.
already have it. Yeah.
All you need is all you got. It's all right there. And now what we do is we take the energy we're applying to the outcome, we refocus that into the process. And the process, by the way, is a day-to-day process. Now it gets like really fun and it gets really present. And now you got something that you can control, right? Now it's something that let's get after this today.
I like that. That spinoff. I like that.
So
In the world we live in, everything is really based around numbers, P&Ls, balance sheets, profits, um, cutting expenses as much as possible, even if it, you know, is we're outsourcing to overseas, whatever that may be. You emphasize a heart-centered approach in your coaching. How do you maintain um, innovation in an industry that often values numbers over personal connections?
It's such a good question. I mean, I think the thing to think about is that the obsession over numbers or spread, your P&L is you can do both. I think sometimes people feel like it's one or the other. The reality is, and I'll use you, Jake, as a good example. The reality is the more that you obsess over your P&L and you create wealth, the more you're actually going to help others. So you being smart financially does not mean you can't help others.
Mm.
Right. And I think sometimes we feel like I either can be really, really smart financially or I can help other people and be poor. And that's utterly false. Think about the good as you build your wealth and your empire. Think about how many people you're going to be able to help at an extremely high level. How many young Jakes are out there right now that need to hear your message, your story? And when we start to think about that, now, if you are not tight with your P&L and your budgets and smart with your finances, you're not going to be able to be your best self and go impact other people.
Right.
So as you're going about this, again, going back into that concept of being healthy, selfish, financial health matters, right? So making sure that you're being intelligent about your budget, your money, how you're spending money, not over leveraging, putting stuff aside for the inevitable, things we don't know are going to happen, but will happen. So you can manage those will enable you to be able to go out in the world and impact other people and lead with heart. Now, once again, this is sometimes we have to make hard decisions in business, right? Sometimes the economy changes, the market goes down, and you have to come back to this world that, you making a hard decision around your financial health and wellness, it does not make a statement about who you are as a person. Now, if you are stealing money and all that, that's obviously not good. That's
Mhm.
not what we're talking about. What we're really talking about, again, is coming back into the full human being and the health and wellness aspect. And financial health is one of the greatest things you can do to be healthy, you know,
For sure.
because of the fact when you have financial health and wellness, it allows you not to have stress, anxiety, overwhelm, etc. And then what that gives you, let's be real, if you were not financially well off, you could not do this podcast right now and hopefully impact other people.
Right.
You'd be out right now in a construction site swinging a hammer. No,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but you are not impacting other people because you are very smart with your financial wellness and what you're building. Jake, you have an opportunity to impact other people. And for people listening to this, challenge yourself to say, all right, don't feel like if I'm on a budget and I'm not buying my kids the newest PlayStation game, you're not hurting your kids, right? You're actually teaching them a lesson of how they can actually be healthy in the financial sense.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's one of those situations rather than think of either or, think of and right?
Yeah.
We can
My,
be kind and financially healthy, and that's going to allow me to help other people, right?
the trickle effect of it.
Trickle effect, man. It's and like I said, that's that line I use, like be the light, don't give the light. So as you start to grow and expand, you'll magically impact people just by being you.
I like it. So, you've built many communities in the past.
Yeah.
You have your coaching program with Heart Coaching.
Yeah.
What are your long-term goals with Heart Coaching, and how do you plan to achieve them? What does that look like in the long
Yeah.
run? Not that
Yeah.
we have our crystal balls because they broke, but
Of course. Yeah, well, and again, it's really critical to create a vision and a goal, right? I have visions and goals. The key thing is not knowing that that's going to change. When I get to that point,
right,
it's going to look differently, but it still gives me a direction. It's almost like you're navigating a ship with no GPS and you're using the stars. Your vision and your goals are just your North Star on your journey. So for me, the first thing is that I called the company With Heart Coaching for several reasons. Number one, I wanted to create a company that was not beholden on me always running it. So
Mm.
by not having my name, if you evaluate, most coaching companies are the person's name, right? Skye Michiels Coaching or Tom Ferry Coaching, Brian Buffini, right? So because they use their name, they always have to be the one in charge of the coaching, or they always are the ones have to be on stage.
Right. Yeah.
Hard to have a Tom Ferry event without Tom Ferry. So the idea of calling it With Heart Coaching, there is a world where eventually people may not know who Skye Michiels is. And by creating that name, it gives me a platform to scale and build above. The second thing is I wanted to create a company that was not just coaching real estate agents, but actually was coaching all people and all entrepreneurs, right? So what I teach realtors, the concepts I teach realtors, a lot of what we talked about in this podcast, right? I can teach a mortgage broker, an insurance agent, a contractor, a gym owner. I can take these concepts and coach any business owner. So that's the other reason I called it With Heart Coaching, is the fact that I wanted to make sure I created something that was not just pigeonholed only into real estate. The other reason I called it With Heart Coaching is because of the fact that I wanted the culture of this company to speak even in the title of the name. And everything we do in this company is all predicated on caring about people. So whether I'm coaching, people, realtors, mortgage people, everything we do and everyone that will work for me will be sharing that same cultural mindset, right? There's nothing wrong with Grant Cardone, 10X, hustle, grind culture. That's not me. All good. I have no problem with people that love that. That's great. But at the end of the day, this company is not that message.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So those are the three reasons I called it With Heart Coaching. The long-term vision is actually that this is going to be a company where anything around life, business, marriage, anything, right? You can find here. And this is going to become a brokerage for coaches. So in other words, coaches who specialize in fitness, wellness, business, finances, anything can work here as independent contractors. And if you were to picture a real estate company, real estate brokerage, this is going to be a place where people can come and find someone that can help them. And it'll be a community of coaches all working together at improving humanity. So once again, coaching to the heart.
That's awesome, Skye. Well,
Yeah.
hey, time flies when we're having fun. As we're wrapping this up, a lot of people are self-employed, like yourself, like myself. And even if you're not self-employed, you have a busy professional job, whatever it may be. We're really good with our day-to-day professions, but we're also thinking about the future. We're starting to think about at some point in time, like we may not be doing this forever. We're getting into our 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
and we want to go live life or whatever that may look like. A lot of people say retirement. I don't think I'll ever retire just because it just doesn't feel like a fit for me. Not that
Yeah.
I can't, it just doesn't feel like a fit for me.
Yeah.
But do you have any thoughts around, um, at the when you're say, for instance, you don't want to do this anymore, or when it's thriving,
Mhm.
like you said, that's why you named it
Yeah.
With Heart Coaching. Any thoughts around creating like passive income or replacing your income through investments or something like that for your future, yourself, your future family, anything like
Yep.
that?
Yeah. Well, I love building businesses on air. Like this coaching company, is a business that's built on air, aka, there's no hard costs other than I have two employees currently, and I have technology. So I'm passionate about trying to create companies that are highly profitable and
Mm,
are very, very low leverage, right? So in other words, I don't need to go and rent a storefront, fit it out, invest $1 million in the hopes of producing $1 million.
keep it
Right.
mean and lean.
Exactly. So my long-term vision is actually to help entrepreneurs build companies and partner with them
That's
in
awesome.
investments. Ideally, like you motivate me to go out and try to buy real estate as well. I think it's an amazing long-term investment. I can say buying real estate's not my passion. So I'm going to need to produce a lot of extra income, but I am passionate about starting and building companies, and especially companies that are highly profitable and really built on air, right? So that's really what my long-term vision is, to be able to create a situation where I'm creating effortlessly, helping other people. Other people are doing a lot of the work, and it gives me the opportunity to identify people, other entrepreneurs who are creating businesses that I can help grow and hopefully partner with as well.
Get a piece of the equity.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. So for the listeners who want to connect with you, learn more about With Heart Coaching, where's the best place for them to go to?
Best place is my website. It's with www.withheartcoaching.com. I'm also active on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram with @Skye Michiels, which is spelled a little differently. It's SKYEMICHIELS, and that's on Instagram. And then if anyone wants to reach out to me and email me, it's just skye@withheartcoaching.com.
Awesome, Skye. Well, it was a pleasure having you on Philly Fortune Talks.
Great talking to you, man. I've thoroughly enjoyed this morning. So you made my day.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to Philly Fortune Talks with Jake Penny. Inspired to share your success story? Visit phillyfortunetalks.com/guest and let's inspire together.